Let's begin with a reading from Ibn Said, a 13th century geographer from Al-Andalus who died in North Africa. He happened to write one of the more detailed accounts of the ancient kingdom of Takrur, located in the middle Senegal Valley. Let's begin. The Atlantic Ocean rises little by little in this section as far as the mouth of the Nile, which flows past Ghana and Takrur, where the longitude is 10 degrees 20 minutes and the latitude 14 degrees. Facing the mouth of the Nile in the Atlantic Ocean at a distance of 1.5 degrees is Jazirat al-Mil, Salt Island. Its length from north to south is a little over 2 degrees and its width 1/2 degree. On the coast of its southern extremity is the town of Al-Lil, which is, like the towns of the Buja and Indians, of various kinds of canes and other plants. Its people live on fish and turtles, and their trade is in salt. They carry it by ship up to the countries on the banks of the Nile. He, Idrisi, says, there is no other supply of salt in the land of the Sudan. Beside this island is Jazirat al-Anbar, Ambergris Island. The strait between them is 1/2 degree wide, but each is separated from the mainland by less than that. It is 2 degrees long, and its width at its highest point is 2/3 of a degree. It is also called Jazirat al-Salahif, Turtle Island, for many of those are found there. The inhabitants of the islands hunt them, dry their flesh in strips, and travel to trade with it. They also find much ambergris on this island. The first of the towns of Takrur, which you encounter on the west stretch of the Nile, is Kalambu, a well-known river port. In the time of Abu Ubaid al-Bakri, it belonged to the pagans, but in our days there is no town on the Nile in the land of Takrur which has not been penetrated by Islam. All these towns belong to the Sultan of Takrur. Their capital is a town called Takrur on both banks of the Nile, and by this name the inhabitants are known. They belong to a race called Magzawa, and are divided into 2 sections. A section who have become sedentary and live in towns, and a section who are nomads in the open country. Most of their territory is on the north bank of the Nile. They have little on the south, for most of it is occupied by the territory of the Lamlam, abandoned unbelievers who eat men. The position of the town of Takrur is where the longitude is 17 degrees and the latitude 13 degrees 30 minutes. Its ruler captures the Lamlam slaves. The Lamlam are rustics, and in books are said to have a settlement more like a village than a town, called Mwyh, where they have the house of their dakakir, that is, idols. It is situated on the Atlantic Ocean, where the latitude is 6 degrees. Let's continue again. Next section, the second section of the first climb. The first of it which you encounter is the town of Barisa, one of the most famous towns of the land of Takrur. If the Sultan of Takrur becomes weak, the ruler of Barisa becomes independent. It is much visited by travelers and is the last town of Takrur. It is to the north of the Nile, where the longitude is 20 degrees and the latitude is 13 degrees 30 minutes. The apparel of the Sudan of Takrur and elsewhere is chiefly skins. Wherever one of them attains status, having a retinue, he wears his skins dyed. Those who mix with white men and become particular adopt clothes of wool and cotton, which are imported for them. Their food is chiefly various kinds of pulses made into an unfermented stew. Bread is not found among them unless as a novelty among kings who will like to adopt the customs of the white men. Their horses are short and not swift. Their weapons are clubs of ebony, which is abundant along the Nile and is used for firewood. They have bows and arrows made from the sharki reed, from which they also make their strings. The hellebore with which they poison their weapons is common in the banks of the Nile. The shajar al-kutan, cotton tree, is found in their houses. None builds with plaster and baked bricks except a ruler or a person of wealth and distinction to whom he has given permission to do so. Those of them who inhabit the bush go naked. Those who are Muslims cover their privy parts with bones or skins, but the unbelievers do not cover themselves. To the east and north of Barisa, the river Lami, which comes down from the mountains to the south of the town of Lami, debouches into the Nile. This town, which is no more than a village, owes obedience to the pagans of Lamlam. Its inhabitants are Jews of a race known among the slaves of the Maghreb. The Lami Mountains extend for 8 stages from west to east. The above-mentioned river Lami issues from their western end and passes through their settled land until it debouches into the Nile. The river Malal issues from the eastern end and curves around until it passes by the town of Malal, which is a town of unheeded pagans. The latitude of Lami is 10 degrees. The longitude of Lami is the same as that of Barisa. The longitude of Malal is 29 degrees. Its river flows into the Nile on a level with the town of Drhm, a town of abandoned pagans halfway between Lami and Malal. To the east of what has been mentioned is the mouth of the river, which is one of the rivers mentioned by Ptolemy. It comes down from the LHW mountains, of which the southern end is beyond the equator. The end of these mountains is where the longitude is 32 degrees and the latitude 9 degrees beyond the equator, and from there they extend for 2 degrees and some minutes over the equator. Okay, we will cease from our reading of Ibn Said. What we find most interesting about it is he actually offers one of the earliest known depictions of the so-called Tukulur, Fula ethnicity, with the Tukulur being the sedentary types of the Mafzara or Magzawa of Takrur, and the nomadic population being the ancestral groups of the Fula or Fulbe, Fulani. It's also a very interesting account in terms of what it suggests about the ongoing trade of sea salt from the Atlantic coast along the Senegal River. It's fascinating that there isn't more written about the coastal base for trans-Saharan trade, and how and why is it that Takrur did not enter into the historical record long before al-Bakri in the 11th century. We will explore this in the future. Thank you.